Okay, well, on to a slightly different tack here. We're going to bring you now the second installment of our new regular feature here on the show, CMSC Corner. This is where we chat with insiders from the Coordinate Metrology Society about large volume, close tolerance 3D measurement and how their annual conference, the CMSC, helps users overcome various metrology challenges. There are a few people who are better equipped to address these topics than our next guest, Rina Molari-Korgel, who, in addition to being one of Hexagon's very finest application engineers, is also the vice chair of the Coordinate Metrology Society. Rina, thanks for being with us today.
You're welcome, Dirk, and hello to you too and everybody out there.
All right. Well, Rina, just to remind our viewers, the Coordinate Metrology Society puts on the Coordinate Metrology Systems Conference, which is called the CMSC, each year. And this year it's right on the beach in Hollywood, Florida. So assuming you can drag them away from the beach, what can attendees look forward to at this year's show?
Well, Dirk, that's true. Once we can get them inside, I'm sure we will captivate their interest. And we're going to start off with this year's keynote speaker, who's going to be Dana Bowman. He's a retired Sergeant First Class with the U.S. Army, where he was Special Forces soldier and member of the U.S. Army's elite parachute team, the Golden Knights. So Dana is a motivational speaker who touches on the able-bodied as well as the disabled on his conquest over becoming a double amputee in 1994, returning to the air with a parachute jump just 5 months later after his accident, and returning to military service within 9 months. Quite an accomplishment. Dana has returned to one of his passions, which is being in the air with parachuting and helicoptering. So this quest has driven him to share his life-changing thought processes in hopes of being the catalyst that sparks the positive in all of us. Dana will be making an appearance on Monday evening before speaking to us Tuesday morning, July 21st. CMSC 2015 also offers the exhibit hall where all the latest technologies, products, and processes will be displayed, accompanied by knowledgeable application engineers to assist you in discovering the items best suited to your needs. As in the past several years, the exhibit hall will also house the measurement zone, which is still under construction for this year's events. But let me tell you about last year's 4 zones. The first zone contained a laser tracker measurement contest that was used to observe process practices. This was a key area for many of the attendees' interests. The second contained a portable arm measurement zone where attendees could work hands-on with assistance of application engineers to widen their horizons. The third zone was a multimedia training area where attendees could access various short-term training programs on basic metrology and such items as measurement uncertainty. The fourth zone was a full learning zone with instructors present to assist with best practices focused on laser tracker measurements. CMSC also hosts over 2 days of presentations by metrology professionals. Here you can learn about such things as research project conclusions, the applications of 3D coordinate metrology with their obstacles and successes, or discovered best practices. So CMSC 2015 is sure to provide a week of metrology information saturation not found anywhere else.
Okay, Rina, last week or a couple weeks ago, we talked to Scott Sandwith, and he mentioned the papers that are presented at the CMSC. I believe abstracts actually are due in a couple of weeks for those papers. For the presenters as well as the attendees, what are the value of those papers? I got to say the papers are, I mean, from my perspective, I've seen some of those presentations. They're really interesting. I mean, they're very kind of down-to-earth practical applications.
That's right, and thus being that for the CMSC and the CMSC attendee, the presentations are a great source of knowledge that aren't accessible anywhere else. So at the conference, not only will you be able to listen to the presentation, but you'll have access to the presenters and along with the other developers of those papers who were there attending the conference and at the networking events for you to grab a hold onto and ask them some one-on-one questions in order to help you gain some insight to your measurement needs. So for the attendees, these presentations are just a gold mine of information and wealth of knowledge for them to reap. And for the presenter at CMSC, what you get is being acknowledged by the highest recognition in your industry. and that's to share your knowledge and experience with your peers at CMSC 2015. Once again, they'll be available for one-on-one conversations with interested attendees. And as being a presenter, your technical paper that's submitted has the opportunity of being published in the Journal of the CMSC. Now, this is a one-of-a-kind journal that's mailed out to a large circulation, and it's also distributed to trade shows and conferences that influence participation at our annual Coordinate Metrology Society conference. So, as an attendee or as a presenter, the wealth of knowledge that you can reap from each other and one another is one of the main reasons for attending the conference, as well as our exhibition hall for the hands-on experience.
Okay, Rina, I want to kind of change gears completely here, I think, a little bit from the CMSC, although it does tie in. You are in kind of a unique position. You are, as we've talked about in the past, you are a woman in a profession that is largely dominated by men. There's not a whole lot that I know of female metrologists. And by extension, you know, that same applies to technical or engineering professions in general. So what's been going on since we last interviewed you about this subject, I guess it was 3-4 years ago? Have there been more women joining the ranks of metrology in the last couple of years?
Well, Dirk, actually, it was back in 2008, so we're going back almost 8 years ago from my records, although this is a topic that we do touch on very often. It is tough to get the younger generation interested in metrology, so let alone to knock down those numbers and focus in on just the female gender of the population, it does get very tough. But over the past few years, we've seen really record numbers of first-time attendees at the CMSC conference. So levels reaching up to 15% of new faces with fresh ideas, and that look of amazement that they've discovered a new world unto itself filled with possibilities that measurements can bring. So not only are the keys to traditions of inspections available to them, but they're finding the limitless world of using measurements to help produce things right the first time around. So women engineers, along with their male counterparts, are beginning to discover the command and the power of measurement. This, demand and the power of measurement is what draws them into the technology and into their field. And once there, they really are captured and entranced by the possibilities that the technology offers them. So really, to get down to the nuts and bolts, the numbers are increasing, although slowly. Like I said, we're getting about 15% of new faces. In the past, women have probably held less than 5% of our community, and now, running through our numbers of last year's conference, there were at least 9% women there. So slowly but surely, the numbers are increasing.
That's significant. So if you work in large volume metrology, so you get to measure really interesting things, big things. I mean, just to give people kind of whet their appetite if they're not familiar with kind of what you're doing out in the field, the kind of stuff that you're measuring. Give us a couple examples of some just cool projects that you've had.
Well, Dirk, some of the really cool things that we get to access in our field, of course, focuses on the military sector, and I do play a role in the aerospace area. So airplanes such as the F-16, the F-22, and the very beginnings of the F-35 were quite fascinating projects, let alone moving on to items such as a Titan Centaur launch vehicle. That was probably the largest article from top to bottom, checking cylindricity, and then at the very top, measuring the payload attach pads. Moving on from there, we delve into different areas, such as once got to measure a sarcophagus, a 2,000-year-old Egyptian sarcophagus by the name of Meritites. As you can imagine, this beautiful sarcophagus just covered in gilded gold and hieroglyphics that have been hand-painted on. So we were not able to touch the product, but the ultimate use was checking to see deformation from a horizontal to a vertical position. Due to the limit of museum floor space, they definitely had a need to display the item in an upright position versus the horizontal position.
So everything from military to art.
To art.
To art, yeah. And actually, I remember, weren't you out in the desert doing something with a solar collector, that sort of thing too?
That's correct. New power energy technologies are delving into solar power and being able to reflect that power onto a focused node on a tower. So you're looking at items where you have a 1 mile radius of all types of heliostats. I shouldn't say all types, they are very precisely configured, but thousands and thousands of heliostats just converging onto one spot on a tower. So I did get to work on a research project that helped prove out the technology and is presently under construction at a facility near Las Vegas, Nevada.
So there's cool stuff going on in the world of metrology. And you know, if any of you out there are interested in this topic, go to the CMSC this year in Hollywood, Florida. It's always a good show. There's a lot of good information and great folks as well. Rina, thanks for joining us this morning.
That's right. Thank you very much. Come see us. See us at www.cmsc.org and register for your conference this year, the week of July 20th. We look forward to seeing everybody in Hollywood, Florida.
There you go. Thanks, Rina.